the voices that propel us, stories of justice, action, and community. A space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. Just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Elizabeth Tril. Elizabeth is the founder of Oakland Soul Media and a storyteller at heart. With her camera always close by, she's passionate about capturing the real, raw, and beautiful moments that make up community life. From protests in the streets, weddings, commercials, documentaries, and more. Elizabeth sees her work as a way to lift up voices that deserve to be heard and to share stories that spark connection, joy, and action. She doesn't think of herself as the one in the spotlight, but rather the person behind the scenes, making sure the spotlight finds others. Through Oakland Soul Media, Elizabeth blends her love for photography, film, and people into work that's rooted in justice, creativity, and a whole lot of heart. Well, hi, Liz. How are you today? I'm so excited to have you on today. Thank you for your time.
I'm doing well, Denise. Thank you for having me. Appreciate and being in your platform.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really happy and just grateful that you're taking this time this morning to share your stories. And before we jump into the questions, I just want to say like thank you so much for the beautiful graphics that you contributed to the show. You make my social media posts look pretty. So just want to
Oh,
say thank you for that. I really appreciate your contributions already.
oh, happy to help. It's all love.
So yeah, I just love how you focus on storytelling, and I'd love to just like further explore this during our time together today. So just starting off, what's the story behind Oakland Soul Media, and what inspired you to create it, and what does soul mean to you in this context?
Ooh. Oakland Soul Media to me means my creativity, my storytelling, a platform where I can tell stories in a creative way through my vision.
Oh,
And I feel like it's like a way where I can capture people's stories if it's through a love story, which is capturing their wedding, if it's a music video, if it's a commercial. But more than all of that, I think it's more important just to capture like the essence of people. And I feel like people are stories, and everyone on this earth, has something special about them. And having the opportunity to have capturing those people, to me, it's like, I'm honored and I just love what I do. And the soul part to me is just like, I believe that everyone has a beautiful soul deep down, and that's part of who they are. And I just love being the person who can capture them. And I appreciate everyone who I've been able to capture because, besides, I don't look at people as my clients, I look at them as like, people. And I think everyone is beautiful, and just being able to have that relationship with them, and later I become friends with my clients, and it's just a cool experience because you get to meet new people and you get to know their story rather than what people automatically like assume of them. You're like, wow, like we're all going through stuff, or like that person is very inspiring, or that person is doing great work in their community. And, I started doing, short documentaries to me. And what I love doing about short documentaries is capturing the story that people are doing in the community. I started all of my, I guess, career work here in Oakland. And I think that's why I decided with Oakland Soul Media because, Oakland is who I am. I'm a girl from Oakland. I'm from the town, even though I have been all over the Bay Area running around BART, capturing different stories and different internships and stuff when I was growing up. But like at the end of the day, Oakland was the one who gave me the opportunity. And even though I reached to other cities and different clients around, the world, but at the end of the day, it's Oakland Soul that keeps me where I'm at.
no, that's so beautiful. I really love that a lot. And that's such a gift and a treasure that you have, just that. you're giving that gift to other people too, I think, to give them like a platform to share their stories and yeah, in just a really beautiful way. I hope that you just recognize that, like the gift that you're giving to people too. And yeah, that's something that I think about a lot too. Like we're in crowded places, but every person has like a story. And it's just beautiful to like be able to uncover those stories and how each story makes up our communities or the world and stuff. So I think that's really cool that you do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, you often describe yourself as being more behind the scenes. What draws you to storytelling as a person holding the camera rather than being in front of it?
Yeah, I grew up being the shy kid, always sitting in the back of the classroom. When it would be almost my time to read, I would be practicing the lines because I would be scared that people would look at me.
Mhm.
But having the camera gave me that voice to being able to tell people what I wanted to say or what was going through my mind by just, capturing that. So as the person being behind the camera, it allows me to capture what I want to say with my vision. So I guess like now being behind the camera just gives me the opportunity to be a voice for other people, and it's my creativity overall.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And so looking back, was there a moment or project when you realized that storytelling could actually drive justice and not just document it? I think that's a really beautiful approach that you have of like, this is also like working towards justice. And is there that moment where you made that connection?
Yeah, for sure. I remember as I was starting out, I would always have my camera in my backpack.
Mm,
And I remember I was walking through downtown Oakland and there was a protest, and I was on my way to go home. Like I was about to miss my bus. But I realized, like, in that protest, I was like, I either go home or I can capture this moment and be my way to, show my support is by capturing my content and then sharing, the visuals.
yeah.
And my parents were waiting for me to, like, arrive home, but I decided to capture the whole protest. In downtown Oakland,
Mm,
sometimes in downtown Oakland, things get
yeah.
messy and people break things, but it was my way of, I guess, filming, even though I don't agree with all that vandalism, but just recording that and realizing that, that's my way to capture what is happening in the community. As also when I would go to shoot documentaries,
Mm,
showing people their stories and what they were going through. Or I remember this fire I forgot what was the name of the fire, but there was a big fire where a lot of people lost their homes, and it was in a Latino community. So my team took me because I was the only like bilingual person in the team. So like just me being able to be a part of that and give a voice to those people that lost their homes, but also being able to capture that so people can help them out and figure out what they were going to do right after. And those are like moments that I was there and I realized that it's more than just a camera. It's
mm,
giving people voices when they need it. And sometimes there's a lot of people that would love to help, but
yeah.
they don't know how to help if they don't get the story reached to them. And if I can be like the bridge to getting people that story and, having people help them in that way, then, I feel
Mhm.
like I did my job.
No, I think that's really wonderful. And I think it's just like, yeah, I think just making it personal is really important too, because I think when it's reported on like the news cycle or whatever, it's like taking it more like statistics or just like people. But I think by you like showing the impact and like story behind it, I think that would like resonate a lot more with people and people having more of that desire to step up and help the situation. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
for
cool.
sure. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. So just building on that, your work spans protests, weddings, commercials, and documentaries. How do you balance creative projects for clients with justice-driven storytelling?
Yeah, I think every client has their own vision.
Hmm.
And when it's about justice, I want to make sure I capture that vision. If it's through photography, making a statement,
Hmm.
or if it's a video of capturing the story that's happening or what's going to happen or how someone was affected. So I think it's all about making sure I'm creative, but I'm being respectful of the story and I'm telling that story to everyone.
Was there ever a time when you felt like you had to document the work, but then also like having that respect for boundaries to like figure out like, oh no, this is a time that I should not actually record it? Like, how do you balance that, like telling a story versus like also realizing when you need to be respectful and when people need that kind of space?
Mm. I think in order to always be respectful of a story, I think it's the timing.
Hmm.
I feel like depending what's going on, because if it's urgent and people need to know what's going on, then I think it's definitely important to release the story. But also, there have been stories that just don't make it out because, then it's not respectful in the way of like, oh, something later happened, or the story is incomplete because we're missing another source.
Yeah.
So I think it's always making sure that having the respect, but also seeing the timing and who the audience is. And I think just taking in consideration all of that,
Hmm.
so respecting the story, like does the story go out on time? Does the story
Yeah.
just never even make it out?
Yeah.
Or does the story go on later on? Or we wait till we have more sources or more coverage to actually tell what the story is going like.
Hmm. No, I love that too. And I think something that I've been thinking, I think just with this current administration, I'll give an example. So the Japanese American internment camps during World War II, people are still able to visit this. And recently, I think a few months ago, I saw that these signs started popping up that was saying, please report anything that you feel is like un-American or doesn't express like the beauty of America. So I think there's sometimes like, you know, there's hard parts in, our history. But at the same time, I think it shows like the beauty of just like people being resilient and everything. So, with that, do you ever feel tension between telling a story beautifully and telling it truthfully? And how do you navigate that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very important to see the person, for example, if we're interviewing someone and they want the story to be told, but they want to keep their identity, more reserved. I think it's all about like giving them the voice, but also giving them the respect
Mhm.
and also finding a creative way to tell their story and capture it
Mhm.
because sometimes, visuals gives that opportunity of connection to the viewer. So in those cases, we find ways of like just doing side profile.
Mhm.
We're going to do a shadow, or if we're just going to, in editing, blur their face. So it just depends at the end of the day, like who the person is, the respect that they want, but also like the story that they have. Sometimes another creative way that, I love to capture footage is through B-roll and making sure that the B-roll is connected to the story so people can get the same message at the end of the day.
No, that's wonderful. And in your eyes, what makes a story powerful enough to spark connection or action?
I think overall, it's telling the story with the essence of the story.
Hmm.
And I'm a very, like, I like to keep things like short and sweet.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely like to always go straight to the point of
Yeah.
like what the story is, especially in video, because people's attention span is very, very low now.
Yeah.
So definitely making sure we capture or we tell the beginning of the story in the beginning and making sure that if it's a longer piece, but keeping it in a creative way. And I think it's just all overall connected.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a very good point too. I feel like it's the advancement of technology. Like people just want, information quick. And I even watch my daughter like watching different YouTube clips and stuff where she's just like scrolling, like, oh, just if it doesn't catch my attention in like 2 seconds, I'm gonna skip this one. But that's cool that you're able to like take a piece and like make it so impactful in just a really concise way. I think that takes a lot of high skills to do something like that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so Oakland has a rich history of activism and art. How has the city shaped your creative lens?
Yeah, I think for me overall, Oakland has been the soul of why I have always been creative,
Yeah.
such as from protests, such as the diversity, such as the people, the language, the food, the stories. So for me, it's all about like all of that, putting it together and making sure, giving a voice to all that. And to me, um, Oakland has a lot to offer, and there's just, yeah. Also, what Oakland has to offer is, the poetry, the art.
Yeah.
If it's art through, graffiti, if it's
Mhm.
art through murals, if it's art through music, through rap, through poetry. And I think all of that plays a role in how all the stories are being told. And I like to make sure I give protagonist to each of those categories through what I do.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so what does it mean to you to lift up voices and that deserve to be heard without speaking for them?
I feel like it's a privilege to give people a voice
Hmm.
for what I do because it allows other people to resonate, to connect,
Hmm.
and to be part of a community. And I feel like at the end of the day, like we all have a story and we're all connected in a way or in another. And I feel like a story you can identify sometimes with someone, and even though you don't think you have anything connected to them. And I think just being part of that is a privilege for me to be being able to capture that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so just, speaking a little for yourself too, so storytelling in justice spaces can be emotionally heavy. How do you care for your own heart while holding space for other people's stories?
Yeah, for sure. Storytelling is beautiful,
Hmm.
but when it comes to things that are hard sometimes to tell,
Yeah.
it does drain you sometimes because you realize like this is what's going on. Like it's not just like a story. So
Yeah.
sometimes I do have to pause and realize like I have this story, so I have to give it the time, but also I have to realize like this does affect me mentally because I'm rewatching it, and I consider myself a very empathetic person. So I do get attached to the story,
Mhm.
but then I soak it all in, and then I have to go back and be like, okay, like I gotta get this story done. And I
Mhm.
just go and like I see the vision and I just try to finish it. And then another beautiful part is then seeing how people react to it or how they take it in or
Yeah.
interpret it.
Oh, that's cool. Are there any like specific practices that you use or have used in the past that like help you through those moments? Yeah, like if it's like even because for myself too, it's like just taking breathing, doing meditations or writing. Like, is there any like specific practices that you use that helps you?
Yeah, I would say I love music
Yeah.
after not a singer or anything, but for me, definitely music is my way of like de-stressing. So I have to, connect my earbuds to my ears and
Yeah.
just put it all the way up. And I feel like I'm in a different world for a couple of minutes while I'm listening to that. So then I'm just like, it resets me in a way. And the cool part about music is that you can choose what genre you want, like how you want to feel. So if I'm feeling low, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put some good like pop or R&B and
Yeah.
get myself back up where I need to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. Like for me too, I love music and I feel like it's just really healing. Like I don't know, I just feel like depending on what you're listening to, like it just has a way of reaching like my soul and spirit in the way that like, other things can't. Like, yeah, myself too, I really am a lover of music. So that's cool. It works for you too. Um, so what's a lesson that you've learned from someone that you photographed or filmed that stays with you today?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's all about mm, I think what it's important.
Hmm.
of what I've learned is staying true to the story.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we see a lot of news outlets, they only include what they want to include and they edit a lot of things in a different way. And I think for me, that what I've learned from, previous mentors is giving the respect to the story
Hmm.
and don't edit things in a weird way. Like keep it the way it should be, but
Yeah.
still be creative and be respectful.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing because like you're saying too, I feel like the news, like it just, yeah, mainstream news tends to do that a lot, like shape people's words to fit like a certain narrative. And yeah, that's really cool that you came to that. Is there something that happened that helped you to come to that realization?
Yeah, I think it was definitely, interviews when you interview people
Hmm.
and, knowing what it takes to be behind the scenes and stuff. And, you're sometimes you watch the news and sometimes you cover the same story,
Oh,
but your story is going for a different audience and theirs is just like they're getting paid to get the views or getting the people
yeah.
story. So just definitely seeing the different types of questions they ask
Hmm.
and also just like what actually makes it out. And I think for me, it's always just sticking to what's actually true and not going much for like the views or the likes or,
Yeah.
the news just goes for like what is trending now too, because I mean, I get it. They're competing with different other news outlets since TV's dying. But I think definitely always being respectful.
No, that's cool. And I think like how you were talking earlier about like filming protest, I think that's like really beautiful that you do that too because you know, changing like actually being on the ground showing what's happening because I've actually been to protest where news would be like, "Oh, this unruly crowd started acting this way." But I think because I was actually there and what happened is that, people were really peaceful. And all of a sudden, the police just started shooting rubber bullets like randomly at people. And then people became unruly because of that, because they were just getting angry, like, hey, we didn't do anything. And, you're being violent towards us. But, like, of course, the news was like, oh, they're like unruly. They're about to start riots. It's like, but you left out the part of why people started getting angry, though. So yeah, I think it's really important that you're there, like, sharing your truths and like actually showing like what's happening. I think that's something that I'm grateful for too. Like everyone, we have phones and we could record and just show the truth versus before. I think without this technology, I think there just used to be a lot more like false narratives and yeah. So it's cool that you're shedding light on the truth on what's really going on.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like they should shine the beautifulness of what happened before that, as you mentioned, like, they don't capture like what was happening before. And I think it's definitely important that both sides are being told.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's really cool. So, has there ever been a time when you had to turn down work because it didn't align with your values? And what helps you to guide those decisions?
Mm, definitely. I feel like my character is who I am.
Hmm.
Money does not make a difference if I accept a project or not. So I will definitely stick to who I am and I will give a voice to what I believe should be given in my perspective. Um, and there has been definitely a lot of projects that I have turned down because it doesn't fit my character, it doesn't fit who I am.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, it's always being truthful to the type of storyteller I want to be and the
Hmm.
type of stories I want to tell, because at the end of the day, you do have a choice.
Yeah.
And my choice is always telling beautiful stories.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't want to tell stories that don't go over my values or my beliefs or also just things that I don't agree with. So,
Yeah.
I will never shame on other stories that I don't take, but that's why I
Yeah.
respectfully just say not now or no, thank you.
No, that's cool. And what helps you to like make those decisions of like, oh, this project doesn't align with what I, stand for?
Yeah, I think definitely I know right away. I'm just
Oh,
like,
right.
oh, this excites me and this
Okay.
is who I am and this resonates with me. And there's other
Yeah.
stories where I automatically feel like uncomfortable and I have to think about it too much to see. And I'm like, if I'm thinking about it too much, it's because I don't agree. And
Right.
I don't want to do something if it's not if I'm not going to be excited about it in the first place. And second, if it doesn't align with who I am.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So, can you tell us what's next for Oakland Soul Media? Are there any upcoming projects that you're particularly excited about? Yeah, and feel free to share what you like or what you don't want to share yet.
Yeah. I think the next project, no, I think, let me see how I word this.
No, take your time and just whatever you're comfortable with sharing. Because, I understand sometimes too, you got to keep projects in the dark until you're ready to shine light on them.
Um, what's next for Oakland Soul Media is definitely more stories.
Mm,
It's more creativeness in a different way that we haven't seen. And what I mean by that is more authenticity, but also in a beautiful cinematic way,
yeah.
which also, yeah, I would say it like that.
No, that's cool. That's really cool. I'm excited to hear more of the stories. Like, I feel like even with this podcast, I feel like I'll never have a shortage of stories to tell because I think, every person has like a story. And, I'm excited to see how you're going to continue to tell stories too. And yeah, I'm definitely a fan of your work.
Oh, thank you, Denise.
So, yeah, so if you could shine your camera's light on any untold story right now, what would it be?
Definitely telling the stories of immigrants.
Yeah.
I come from an immigrant family.
Hmm.
I was blessed enough to be born here in Oakland,
Hmm.
but my roots are really from Mexico. So,
Yeah.
Mexican, probably Mexican. And, regardless of if you're Mexican or not, we're all immigrants in a way or not. So I
Yeah.
think everyone has value to this country, especially in
Yeah.
times like right now. So I would definitely shine more light on my beautiful immigrant, hardworking people because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we're just people. We're just trying to like do what we got to do. Like we're not affecting nobody. So definitely shining more
Yeah.
light and the beautiness of just hardworking people. Like we're just all
Yeah.
trying to like make a living. We're all trying to live, laugh, celebrate somebody's birthday. Like,
Yeah.
I
No,
think that's the right of everyone.
yeah, I really love that. And yeah, because I think going back to like, what's been shared, I think mainstream right now, it's just like so dehumanizing because that's what I've been wanting to do too. With the stories. I haven't gotten there yet, like figured out how I want to do that. But have you had like ideas of how you want to start sharing those stories?
Yeah, definitely. Like even just like the paletero, the ice cream man just walking
Hmm.
around, like just
Yeah.
telling like who his story is, because we just see him walking with the cart of ice cream, but it's just like
Yeah.
he's a person, he has a family. What's your story? Like, why are you selling ice creams, And it's just like we see them with such a positive light and just telling stories of, my community. And I think I would definitely like to highlight that as, maybe a series. Because as I mentioned before, everyone has a story and everyone has a beautiful soul. So
Yeah, I love that a lot. So, for people listening who want to use creativity to serve justice, where's the best place that they could start?
definitely everyone has a phone. It does
Hmm.
not matter what type of phone you have.
Hmm.
Definitely capture what you want to capture. Film yourself and tell the story, your perspective. Don't give misinformation though. And definitely just have fun with it. I think the cool thing about, right now this generation is that anyone can upload anything on the internet.
Hmm.
It has its pros and cons, but if you want to use it for, storytelling or give justice and tell what's going on in the community, I think it's a beautiful way to, pass the word around. And it's a way how we're all connected in a way because at least we don't have to, write letters like back in the day, like easily like, this is going on, post it on my story or
Yeah.
post it where even your audience of friends. But at the end of the day, you're telling a story, you're being connected, regardless if it's through a picture or
Yeah.
through a video.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a point, like really important point. Like I feel like we have so much access to just like everyone can create content if they like. Because I'm thinking even with this podcast, like all I have is like a microphone and a laptop, but it's just like, I could have never imagined, in the past being able, because I would say like, oh, there's not a studio or, like fancy stuff that I need. But like, I feel like anyone can create content. And my daughter watches a lot of YouTube too. And I just say like, yeah, it's literally just people with their phones just
Yeah.
recording everyday life.
Yeah, the only limitations you got are the ones you're putting yourself. So it's just like, use
Yeah.
your resources that you got and you can make beautiful things. If you want to invest in it, better equipment later on,
Yeah.
it's all good. I personally started with a, very, very cheap camera that my
Uh-huh.
parents gifted to me. That's how I got started, by a camera that they gifted to me. But I turned that camera and I was able to use it to the best of my abilities,
Yeah.
and we're here now. So very
Yeah,
grateful.
that's really cool. So do you have like hands-on and everything in your process? Like do you do your own editing and everything like that too?
Yeah, so I'm
Oh,
very hands-on with everything,
oh,
from brainstorming to, going out to shoot to scouting where I'm gonna go film, and also
okay.
filming and editing, and so I'm basically there from pre-production, production to post-production.
Yeah.
Um, I was very blessed with having an experience through it all, and I gained all those skills and might as well just, you know, connect and, on my own team.
Yeah, that's really cool. I hope people listening to this episode can be inspired and have hope that they can also like, do something like that because your own journey too, just showing like, yeah, you can, just do it on your own and just like practicing by trial and error. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so too. All you got to do is just want to do it, and it doesn't matter what you want to do. It's just like just getting started.
Yeah, no, totally. So, what does building a more just world together look like to you in this season of life and work? So, something that I wanted to do with this podcast too is like realize that we can create a just world together and like work towards like social justice. I think just a lot of like the rhetoric right now between like the right and left. I don't know. I just feel like the right always says like, oh, the left, you're too woke or like all this. But I think with this podcast, I wanted people to also see like, no, I think everyone, or maybe not everyone, but I would say like most people like would want to like work towards like a more just and equitable world. Like even if you don't use it in those terms, like I think like there aren't that many people be like, no, I don't want a better world. So I think what I want people to know with this podcast too is like there's different voices. There's like ways that we can create a more like world that's more equitable and more like liberated. And it's not just like a woke thing or like progressive. Like, I think we shouldn't like put those terms together, but like realizing that together we can really move together and yeah, just make change together. So just maybe like not a I guess maybe another word for just like I guess more like a more like a what does building a more better world together look like for you? Just in terms of like it could be through your life or your work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful question. I think a way to be more just in this world would definitely being more connected to
Hmm.
each other, being united, but also being empathetic. There's a lot of things happening in the world every single month or every single year. If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not the weather, it's stuff happening in our community. If it's not happening in your community, it's
Hmm.
happening to kids, it's happening to adults. So I think overall, we just got to realize that we're all human. We're only here for a couple of years.
Hmm.
It's just like, what legacy are you going to leave here? Because in 100 years, like, you're just
Hmm.
gonna be a memory. So, like, what memory do you want to be while you're here? And
Yeah.
I think it's very important to value your life, value other people's lives, and just realize that, we're all human. This is the first time we're living. Everyone
Hmm.
is living for the first time. We all make mistakes. We're all going through stuff. Even though sometimes it looks like people are living beautiful lives,
Yeah.
they're still going through shit.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
at the end of the day, it's just realizing, like, don't take your life for granted. Like, it's beautiful. And while we're here, let's all help each other out if we can. And for me, a more just world is just everyone just being together and just, being grateful to God of all the blessings that we have because every day is a blessing.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. That's really wonderful. And if you could leave listeners with one hope, challenge, or invitation, what would it be?
My invitation to everyone is to live every day like it's your last. Life is too beautiful. You have a beautiful soul. Go make memories, go live life, go hug your family member, show love. And at the end of the day, like just be grateful.
Yeah.
Life is too short. And to me overall, I think that's what life is about. It's the ups and downs and just realizing, taking it all in, and you move forward and you
Yeah.
go make beautiful memories.
I love that. And I'd love to create like a more beautiful world with you too. You're doing wonderful work and I can't wait to see, where you're going to be in just like maybe a few years, even like a few months, few weeks from now. But yeah, thank you for all that you do. And it was really wonderful talking with you today. And just lastly, before we wrap up our conversation, how can people find you if they want to connect with you?
For sure. People can find me at Oakland Soul Media, our Instagram. That is our only social media platform. We are very responsive, and I am excited to work with you if it's a creative way,
Yeah.
if it's through photography. Let's make it happen and let's get, that vision out.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you again, Liz. It was really wonderful talking with you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Denise, for having me. And y'all keep staying tuned to Denise's podcast. She's
You're
the
so sweet.
best, and she has amazing stories to tell. Denise, thank you for having me. God bless.
Yeah, thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself, relax, lean back, it's a brand new day. And every time I feel so down that a frown is all that's on my face, I remind myself to take a breath, it's a brand new day.